daily podcast on the Big 12 Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It is the weekly meeting of the Big 12 Super Friends. It is the roundest of tables. It is the bestest of friends here on a Tuesday night as we do this every single week. I am Josh Neighbors, the host of the Locked On Big 12 podcast. To my right, it is Steven Simcox. He is the host of the Locked On Horned Frogs podcast. To his right, it is John Williams. He is the host of the Locked On Sooners podcast. Below him, it is Linda Godfrey, the host of the Locked On Pokes podcast. And then to her left, it is Jacob Hatch, the host of the Locked On Cougars podcast. Is everybody squared away? Are we all good?
We're good.
All right, guys. So we have a couple governor's races tonight. We have a story about a monkey. We've got, obviously, we've got, what else is going on? A World Series. Nothing else. Oh, yeah. You know what else we got? You know what else? We got that ridiculous song and that ridiculous 13-person committee making us all angry on the interwebs. We had our first round of college football playoff rankings, and that is where we're going to start. So a couple things before we get into this. Just this is an initial ranking, obviously. You're going to feel certain ways about this. I think one thing is the committee, like us, understands that some of this stuff is going to play itself out. So we should all understand that as we approach this. All right. No. So let's take a look at it right now. No, John says no. All right. So take a look at this list. Here you go. The teams that are going to come in, and this is kind of a weird way they structured it. I'm going to move the bottom right thing that I have right there. So on the bottom right of the screen, and bottom left is where I moved. Bottom right is where the rankings start. Our Big 12 and Big 12 affiliated teams begin at number 15 with Jacob Hatch's BYU Cougars. Jacob, go to you first on this one. How do we feel? 15. I think it's pretty fair for the Cougs. It's also a pretty good ranking.
Yeah, I actually think it was a little higher than I anticipated because looking at the AP poll and the coaches poll on Sunday, they were 17th in the AP poll, and you also saw them 20th in the coaches poll. I just felt like they were probably going to be in that 17 to 20 range, but sitting at 15, they're actually only one spot behind where they checked in the initial rankings last year in 2020 when the Cougars were 9-0. So I think a lot of respect being given to BYU, the fact that they've played 6 Power 5 opponents so far this year and have gone 5-1 against them.
And a nice win in the Bronco Bowl this past weekend against
Bronco.
Yes, against Bronco Mendenhall and UVA. Steven, I'll go to you next on Baylor. All right. The Baylor Bears team you're very familiar with covering in that West Texas market. I think 12 is a really strong rating. I think it's correct too. I think if there's one thing that we've learned from watching Baylor this year is that they are a really strong one-loss team. Lost a close game to Oklahoma State, and besides that, have been blemish-free. And I've said this a bunch, but I think they pose the best challenge to Oklahoma because of what they do on both sides of the ball. I could see them winning a low-scoring game and a higher-scoring game against the Sooners because of how their team plays. Steven, how do you feel about Baylor at 12?
I think it's a good spot for them to be in. The identity shift that we've talked about and you sort of laid out there for them has been pretty remarkable to turn around in 1 year from 2-7 to what they are now, which is a really balanced group that gets after you on defense and can run the football and then use that to get into the passing game with a quarterback who is gaining confidence, I think, by the week in Gary Bohannon. The schedule for them sort of lightens up. You still have the Oklahoma game looming, and that's going to be huge. But they've already played Oklahoma State. They've already played Iowa State. They obviously took that loss to Oklahoma State, which will loom large if the Pokes can, run the table here. Or even if they lose a game, they'll have that tiebreaker situation. But I feel like Baylor's in a good spot. And if they can take care of their business against everyone and then find a way to put up a good showing or steal a game against Oklahoma, then they'll be at least in the conversation, which for Dave Aranda in year 2 is a pretty big upshot from where they were last season during the COVID year.
And then, Linda, we'll go to number 11 now to get your thoughts here on the Pokes right there. I think, to me, this ranking shows that they kind of see that loss to Iowa State the way I see it. It's a close loss, but it's a loss that came as a result of a kind of a shoddy spot. And that's why they're right behind a great brand like Notre Dame. They're right behind an undefeated Wake Forest. They're right behind their rival Oklahoma, too. A team that's really imperfect, but performance-wise has either won or been as close as you can be to winning every single game they've played this year.
Yeah, I was shocked. For sure, at the beginning of the year, I did not anticipate being where we are now. I think it speaks volumes to Jim Knowles and what he's done with that defense that I think, without a doubt, I would say is the best defense in the Big 12. He can do so many different – he has so many different packages, and he keeps offenses on their toes. It's why that defense keeps us in games. We got to get through West Virginia. You know, where I've been in this situation before as an Oklahoma State fan, where it's like in control of your own destiny type of thing. And I think they really are. And because of that, I can't think forward to, well, we have Texas Tech and we have OU and TCU, sorry. And, but
No,
I can't think forward to what we have before OU and put OU on that like pedestal that they so like to be on. And I think we just got to take it 1 week at a time. I'm sorry. I'm feeling real petty this evening.
As most of the nation is, I think.
That gets us to John in Oklahoma. So, John, I know you're locked on now, but the Sooners are number 8, behind Michigan, behind Cincy, behind Ohio State, and then obviously your top 4, Georgia, Bama, Michigan State, and Oregon. What is your main gripe? We'll kind of go along with it. Everybody can get in this conversation. What's your main gripe? What is your main gripe with Oklahoma at 8? Where do you think they should be? What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts here on this?
Yeah, so coming into this, I was expecting them to be somewhere like 4 or 5. I think kind of reasonable expectations probably had them about 5. I was expecting Alabama, Georgia, Alabama, Michigan State to be in that top 4 in some particular order. What I was not expecting was Oregon. What I was not expecting was necessarily Michigan either. Like I can see a case for Ohio State and Cincinnati. And if you want to throw Oregon up there because of that opening season loss or win over Ohio State, I can understand it. But to have 4 one-loss teams up there ahead of Oklahoma, it just doesn't make any sense to me. Just somebody make it make sense. And yes, Oklahoma has played a lot of close games this year, but they've won them all. They're undefeated. And they're coming off of a 31-point win over a Texas Tech team. They have a 21-point win over TCU just a couple weeks ago. Yeah, that Kansas game looked bad, but they also scored 35 points in the second half to not only win, but win by double digits in a game that they didn't show up for the first half. And so it kind of still boggles my mind. And again, it's still the issue that I have with college football a little bit, in that the style points seem to matter more than just winning football games. And this is what this is showing. This is what the College Football Playoff Committee is showing with this ranking. Again, I can kind of understand it. I mean, Alabama is the team that's always going to be the getting the excuses and put up there regardless of what they do. Michigan State had a great win over Michigan, but putting Michigan ahead of OU, it doesn't make sense. And it puts me in a position where I'm like, can I trust the College Football Playoff Committee to do the right thing, even if Oklahoma wins out? Because now you've got 2 SEC teams, you've got 3 Big Ten teams ahead of Oklahoma. And depending on all the chaos that happens at the end of the season, what's this going to look like? Already, I mean, Oklahoma's got some big games ahead of them. They're not going to be able to afford a loss. Even if they go undefeated, is the College Football Playoff going to do the right thing? And I want to speak on Cincinnati's behalf too. I'm a little bit irritated for them because Cincinnati is doing everything that you could ask a Group of 5 team to do, and you're still going to slot them 6th. And it just continues to show that the facade that the College Football Playoff is for anybody outside of the Power 5, which is one of the reasons I'm most looking forward to expansion, is that it gives everybody a chance. Like not just Oklahoma, but everybody. Like it gives a Cincinnati a chance. It gives a UCF, a BYU a chance. Now BYU is going to be in the Power 5 soon, but I mean, everybody gets a chance in an expanded playoff. But yeah, it's just hard for me to get my mind around the idea that 4 one-loss teams deserve to be higher than Oklahoma.
Yeah, I think on the Cincinnati point, let's just tackle that first. BYU, honestly, I'm pretty surprised they got the treatment they did, right, Jacob? Because look what Cincinnati got.
Yeah.
Where is UTSA? Where is SMU?
And
where is Houston?
That's the thing about all this is the College Football Playoff Committee, their reasoning, so-called, it makes no sense, because I think UTSA is a very good football team. But if you read the transcript or you listened to that phone call with Gary Barta, he essentially said, okay, well, UTSA, they haven't beaten anybody, so to say. And he also, about Cincinnati, well, they beat Notre Dame, but who else have they beaten? Okay, as Josh says, they're winning football games. Give them credit for doing what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to go out and win games. Give them that credit. I don't know. It boggles my mind.
And then I want to go back also to this quote from earlier in the evening where Gary Barta, and this applies to both Cincinnati and Oklahoma, where Gary Barta said about Ohio State, quote, they don't yet have a signature win. And because Oregon beat them in the head-to-head, that was an important piece of important criteria, important part of the criteria. End quote. The first comment is, well, if that's the case, then why are they ahead of Cincinnati? I would say that's true for both Cincinnati and Oklahoma, because while those teams might not have a signature win, and Cincinnati's got one, they beat Notre Dame in South Bend. It's a top 10 team. And I mean, here's the thing so they should be up there. There's a signature win. That's what I'm saying. They should be up there. For Oklahoma, like, sure, they don't have maybe a signature win, but they haven't lost. And that's the part that bothers me, is that Ohio State has run over basically everybody they played. And look, while Penn State is a decent football team, Penn State lost to Illinois at home. And Penn State goes the next week, and they put up a nice fight against Ohio State, and they really gave them a tough time. But Penn State's not that. I'm actually trying to let me double check here in these rankings. Penn State not pictured here, right? No, is anybody else? Penn State's not in these.
No Penn State.
So, that's the kind of stuff we have to square. Now, Steven, one thing about this is, I think we have to realize this stuff is going to start to work itself out, right? Like, it's going to work itself out. The one issue I have, though, is the 3 Big Ten teams, because they're basically putting the Big Ten in line to go to the playoff. Mm-hmm. That's what I didn't like, because Ohio State's got a loss, but they're right there. Michigan being ahead of OU puts them right there. So maybe in position to if things, while hell breaks loose, the second place team in the Big Ten West might vulture a spot. God forbid somebody beats them in the Big 10 championship game, whatever. But you guys see what I'm saying here. So Steven, I'll go to you first on this. Like, the Big Ten getting a lot of respect right here, but also at the same time, there seems to be an expectation that some of these things are going to work themselves out.
They will. I mean, you have some head-to-head matchups that will put teams in good situations. As John kind of laid out there, OU at 8, I mean, they'll have opportunities to win games and move up. But, yeah, the love for the Big Ten is confounding. I mean, does it matter that much that Minnesota's at 20? No, but at the same time, it does. Like, they lost to Bowling Green earlier this year. It doesn't make any sense that they're sitting there at number 20. As you said before we got on, Josh, like, Iowa has proven to be very fraudulent, and they're still there in the top 25 at 22. And I don't understand the obsession with the same brand names every year. Like, I'm exaggerating here a little bit, shocking, I know. But one of the big reasons why the BCS was put to bed was because we wanted to see different matchups. Like, we wanted to get an opportunity to see a Cincinnati get in, or, Boise State, when they were rolling, get a chance to play for a national championship, get a chance to play in a semifinal. Give those schools an opportunity. Like, what does it hurt to let Cincinnati play Georgia? I don't know if they'll score on them, but I don't know if, Ohio State will either. Like, we don't have the proof that they're just going to get blown out of the water. And honestly, I mean, people are going to watch. People are still going to show up in the stadium. You're not going to lose that much on the bottom line. Like, I don't buy this theory of people are just trying to line their pockets. Like, nobody watches live TV anymore except for sports. We're going to tune into the college football playoff. Just tell us who's in. Like, tell us who's playing the games, and we're going to watch it. So
as long as they're not on New Year's Eve, which I believe the first round of the playoff is on New Year's Eve this year, which is one of the dumbest things that they've ever done. And that is just like, that is the worst, one of the worst decisions ever. Because everybody's doing on New Year's Day? Everybody's hungover, sitting around. Linda, go ahead.
I can drink effectively on my couch and watch college football on New Year's Eve. I think it'll be fine.
But here's the thing. As a college kid, when I was in college, I mean, I would, but like, how fun is that, right? You know what I mean? Now, granted, I think Michigan State actually ironically got slaughtered against Alabama that year. It was that matchup on New Year's Eve. But that's kind of where, that, and also for the Big 12, here's the nightmare situation. If Alabama beats Georgia, we are all in some deep trouble, right? Because that basically guarantees you two things here. One, Alabama and Georgia are in. Two, the Big Ten West kind of winner is going to get themselves, they're in, right? Between Michigan State, Michigan, Ohio State, we figure one of those teams is going to find themselves in there. And then the final thing, three, if Oregon wins out, like, I think Oklahoma should jump them personally, because Oklahoma's last run is going to involve them beating Baylor, Oklahoma State, and one of those teams most likely twice, right? If they want to win, if they want to go to undefeated the college football playoff, and also an Iowa State team. But the big question here is, even if Oregon runs the table the rest of the way, are they going to dislodge them from that 4 spot? Now, I know this is hypothetical, but just saying this is a very real scenario, because how invested should Georgia be in a championship game against Alabama where, hey, should we show them all of our cards? Because we might see these guys again. Do we really want to show them everything right here in this game? And then also, and even if they do, it's like, okay, they're still good to go. That's what I'm concerned about. And I know once again people say, it'll play itself out, it'll work itself out. There is a bit more congestion here than I remember. There's a whole lot of teams that can find them. I mean, Cincinnati's in position to be perfect. Wake Forest is an outside shot. Oklahoma's got a great chance. If we're already excusing Ohio State, they're going to be up there right now. Oregon just needs to sweep that rest of schedule, which they don't always do, but it's doable. Does anybody, John, I'll let you go first in this. Like, this is not the easiest road here to take in general. I think to everybody always says it's going to work itself out. I feel like we have a bit more treachery in that category this year.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of what got set up here in these initial rankings, is that, like, if Oregon wins out, I mean, how can you move them down out of the 4 spot? Like, you're then going to have somebody jump them, which is going to piss off the Pacific Northwest. And then, Ohio State does the same thing. And they, if they get in, or Michigan State, one of those two teams, or what if Ohio State beats Michigan State, and then you have a 1-loss Big Ten champ, and then you got Michigan State? How far do they fall after losing to, supposedly the top 5 team? And then there's just so much here. There's so much in front of Oklahoma that even if those teams beat up on each other, you can end up with like 6 or 7 1-loss teams, or 6 1-loss teams in Cincinnati. But how much do those teams fall? Even if Oklahoma is undefeated, like, the college football playoff will then be having to justify jumping Oklahoma over these teams that lost to a 7th ranked Michigan, or say it's Ohio State that beats Michigan State, the 5th ranked Ohio State, or and so there's just a lot of just weird things that have to happen. And if Oklahoma wins out, great, but I don't know, I just don't trust the committee to do the right thing.
Anybody else here before we move on? Anybody else want to add anything?
I'll just say
you guys.
No, okay. I'll just quickly say the dumbest thing they've ever done is have whoever the chairman is trot out there and try to explain this stuff.
Gary Barta gets massacred every week by the meetings. They
just get in the room and they get the rankings, and then they're like, okay, we have to justify this now, so let's get some reasons going. But I mean, I haven't paid as much attention to it in the last few years because obviously the frogs are involved. I remember back in 2014, Jeff Long just every week was coming up with whatever reason for but it's also subjective.
In retrospect, he's like the worst possible guy to have there answering questions.
It's been a mess, but whoever draws the short straw on that, like, I'm sure there's some good money associated with it, but keep me away from that job of trying to answer why I put 1-loss Oregon above Ohio State and Cincinnati. It's just it's a dumb situation. But anyway, that's all I had to say.
Yeah, they just need to hire a few bloggers to represent.
Or
each
Roger
team.
Goodell. Roger Goodell's a human shield. That's his job.
Yeah, you just get a few bloggers to represent each team, and they can come up with the justification for the guy, and then let him trot out there and read the note cards.
It's actually a very good idea. Linda, you had something before we move on?
For 100,
I think you guys underestimate the amount of like the business money side goes into it. Like, I understand that it's a cheap throwaway way, like to say like, well, it's a business, this is what we do, but it is a business. I do think it has a lot more to do with it than we want to admit as fans of sports, and that part sucks of it. But I definitely think it has a lot more to do with it than we want to see.
My counter would be, then why the hell is Oklahoma not in the top 4, right?
That's
hell?
Fair. That's fair.
I do see what you're saying. That is the shafting of Cincinnati would leave us all to believe it. It's, like they basically put Wake Forest 9. They're like, sorry. Because here's my other big gripe. If Clemson had Wake Forest resume, guess where they are? They are number two in these rankings. That's where they are. If you put a big paw over Wake Forest, right there's my paw right there. Put a big paw over Wake. Jacob, I'll let you close us out on this.
I was just gonna say, if you're gonna give me $128 million like Roger Goodell has made over the last 2 years, I'm totally fine to go out and stand in front of people and let them.
I will eat all of your shit, is what you're saying. Yeah, just put me in. I will do it. Because that's basically his job. All right, let's move on here. Quick ad read. Quick word from our sponsors here. Prize Picks, the best way to actually bet on the actual college football games that we love and we care about. The thing that makes us very happy most of the time. You guys can go to Prize Picks today. Download the app right now. They've got touchdowns, passing yards, rushing yards, total points, over-unders for, all kinds of things. It's the most extensive props that you'll find anywhere. So go to Prize Picks today. Download the app. It's available once again in most states. Use the promo code LOCKEDON. That's LOCKEDON, Locked On, and you'll receive a 100% deposit match up to $100 today at Prize Picks. All right, friends, let's have some fun here with topic number 2. It is MonkeyGate. So, for those of you who are not aware of the situation, if I mess up at any point, please chime in. Jeff Banks is the Texas special teams coach. He came over from Alabama. Actually, a pretty big coup to get him to come over from Bama to be the coach. He was married, and I feel like this is important. He was married. He is no longer married, and he has been in a relationship with a stripper. They are dating, but she was a exotic dancer, who goes by the name. This is not made up. Well, it's made up by her. Pole Assassin. Her name is Pole Assassin, and she has a monkey. I think the monkey's name is Gia. Is the monkey's name. So during trick-or-treating on whenever it was, Sunday night, I guess, there was a haunted house in their house. Basically, they kind of created a haunted situation, and at the end of it, the kids go to the front door and get candy. Well, according to Pole Assassin, one of the kids disregarded a sign that says "Do not go past this sign." There is a service animal past here. It's on a gate, according to her. Once again, kid went by the gate, went up to the monkey's habitat, his cage situation, put their hand in it. The monkey bit the hand, and apparently his jaws had to be removed from the child's hand. So my question to you all is, do we believe Pole Assassin? And number 2, whose side are you on? Steven, lead us off.
Do you think he met this woman like at Costco or at Walmart?
I think it's a very nefarious way that he met this woman.
Okay, well, that's just the first thing I wanted to say. I didn't know if they had like a meet cute at the Costco or something. But well, first, I think since we're talking about Texas, I'm on the side of the kid because it is all gas, no brakes. That's their motto. That's the mentality. He saw the sign. He's not going to listen to it. He's going to keep going. Okay. He's getting after it. He's exploring. This is his business. So that's the first thing. I'm on the side of the child. I love this story. I think this is the best proof that Texas has shown so far that they are ready for the SEC, because this is an SEC story through and through. And they're not really putting a great product out on the field, so why not get involved with this? The other funny thing to me is this was on Reddit yesterday. That's where I saw it kind of break. And I really felt like it was just an internet thing. But my lovely mom, who is a sweet, innocent person, she texted me about this story like before we got on. So apparently it's made it to like the local news or the paper, because that's the only place she's not on Twitter. So we've gone mainstream. Gia and Pole Assassin have gone mainstream, which is great for them. And I also love that she was like trying to defend herself and the monkey on Twitter yesterday. Like nobody's sticking up for the monkey.
I agree with this. That's right. John, are you on monkey side?
I mean, you got to give the monkey, a little bit of defense. Like if a hand gets stuck in your cage, I mean, there's a good chance it's going to get bit. I'm just saying, but I'm still with the kid. Like, if you got an animal that's going to be biting people, you also got to protect kids if you're going to have them coming into your house. And a sign just isn't going to do it for kids. I'm sorry. I've got a 5-year-old. She may or may not read a sign. I'm just going to say that.
We also do need to question the parents who let their kid go to a party led by Pole Assassin. I did factor that into my thinking just now.
Well, but you think it's Jeff Banks' house. Because it's trick-or-treating, so you think it's Jeff Banks' house.
That's true. Yeah.
And you're going, well, I mean, maybe they should
just
know
at the Banks residence.
Maybe they should know better. Since Jeff Banks has a very questionable past here. Yeah. Linda, what about go ahead, John, go ahead and finish.
Yeah, we're underplaying the fact that he's not just the special teams coach, he's the assistant head coach.
He is
at Texas. And also the tight ends coach, and I'll leave it at that.
He's got a lot of responsibility. I'm sure he's also probably one of the best recruiters. Linda, your thoughts? What if your daughter ignored the sign? Would you be mad at the owner of the monkey? Would you be mad at your daughter? The monkey, who are you mad at?
No, I would 100. Okay, because here's the thing. John said my daughter may or may not read the sign. My daughter may read the sign and go, I'm going to stick my hand in it anyway. I'm going to touch that monkey before we leave this house. Like,
absolutely.
There's a very good chance. So I'll be on the monkey side if my kid, there's a sign, but also I'm pretty peculiar about where I take my kid trick-or-treating. And we don't really do haunted houses. I don't really do jump scares. So as a whole, we just go to those lights are on. That feels safe. There's no smoke and mirrors. But I think I'm on the monkey side. First of all, probably Pole Assassin shouldn't have a pet monkey. I think that's fair.
Part of her act. Do you ever see the video?
Yeah,
probably
not
the least questionable
video. She's been on Jerry Springer.
She has.
With Gia the monkey.
I will say this. She is quite athletic. I will give her this. That is the one kind of thing.
It's fantastic content, and the kid shouldn't have stuck his hand in, or her, I don't know, their hand.
Jeff Grimes. Jeff Banks, eye for talent, right? I think that's the one thing. That's
what we can say. Also, I like saying special teams coach because I have the kicker thing that I just like. So it's extra funny to me.
Jacob, would this ever happen in the state of Utah involving anybody in the BYU football program?
No. In terms of BYU football program, I feel like here's the thing. With John and Linda, I have a 5-year-old daughter. I've got a 3-year-old son. Neither one of them are paying attention to that sign. They're going to be like, "Ooh, cool, monkey. Let's go see the monkey." That's what we're doing. But the thing about this is so college football, it's not even funny. It just it fits this sport so perfectly. I saw a post from the Reddit Twitter feed that kind of led me to start looking into it and reading up on it. And I'm like, this is just getting more and more ridiculous. So it is the almost most iconic and most perfect college football story that I can imagine coming out right now.
Yeah, and the one thing, so the best part of the story obviously is that Jeff Banks he's left his wife and children to date somebody whose name is Pole Assassin. Pole Assassin is the best part of the story.
Absolutely.
Both by name and by trade. Second favorite part of this, and I pointed this out last night, and if you go to the initial tweet, Tom Campbell tweeted this out. He is not verified, and that's where this sport really, this is why this sport is awesome. Because unverified people can tweet stuff out. And it turns out he might have been totally accurate on this. This guy tweets out, Tom Campbell, He says, quote, "I'm hearing a report from a credible source." He misspells report. So I'm not sure how you guys value spelling. I'm not great at spelling, but I'm always really angry when I misspell something in a tweet or mess something up. I messed something up in a tweet with Steven the other day. I tagged the wrong person.
I kinged him for an edit button on Twitter.
Yeah, I mean, yes. And so this is why I'm like, I see the guy spelled report, and I'm like, there's no effing way this unverified guy who spelled report incorrectly is correct. This guy nailed it. It's not, this whole thing is, this is not Jeff Banks's monkey by all indications. But yeah, I would just like Pole Assassin, her explaining everything on the Twitter videos, then deleting her Twitter completely. My hope is we haven't heard the last from this story.
We got a college football coach and an entrepreneur that he is dating. There's a lawsuit coming, brother. These parents.
And also, he's a top candidate for the Washington State job. Like, he's like one of the top candidates, which is like, this
is he vaccinated?
It seems like that might be the last of his worries. That might be the last of his worries.
Maybe I'll look past it if he's vaccinated.
And like, as long as he's vaccinated, it's all we care about here in Washington State. All right, we can put up the rest of the stuff. All right, so anybody else want to close us out here? Anybody else got any closing thoughts on Pole Assassin, Jeff Banks, and the monkey that bit a child on Halloween?
I just want to see this play out on another.
I can't wait for the kids' book.
It needs to play out in public. This needs to happen more.
And Orgeron is probably the happiest man alive right now.
Well, luckily for Texas, the college ball playoff rankings came out, and they're not in it. So there's no because if I saw Longhorns logo today, I'd be like, oh my God, like LOL. But we didn't see it today. So, and that's not me making fun of them. I'm actually dead ass serious about that. All right. Before we get to our last segment, where we all give what we're looking forward to the most this weekend, inside or outside the conference, plus our sickos games. So everybody be ready to go after this. All right. We've got Built Bar, our friends at Built Bar, plenty of flavors. If you guys can't find something you like there, I'm totally shocked. A bunch of different flavors right now: coconut, raspberry, mint brownie, coconut almond, salted caramel, double chocolate, cherry bar chia, just to name a few. You guys can go there and also make sure that you're there every 3 to 4 days. They release new bars, and you never know what it's going to be. They send us some of them sometimes. Did you guys get the pumpkin one? The pumpkin one to me was pretty delicious. I got some of those. You guys can get them? Do you guys get pumpkin bars?
I did not.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah, well, they must not have your email address, or your mailing address, fellas. I'm not sure what happened there. But they had blueberry and they had pumpkin. They were very good. I tried them. Right now, you can go to built.com. It's built.com. Promo code LOCKED15, LOCKED 15, LOCKED15, and you'll get 15% off today at built.com. All right, friends, the last thing, it is time to look forward to the weekend. So give me a game that you're most excited about, and give me a sickeningly weird game that you're excited to watch that maybe nobody else is, or just whatever you want. This can be your time to riff and talk about what you're excited to see coming up this weekend. Jake, I will go to you first.
All right. So the game I'm most looking forward to is one that Linda will have an interest in, is Oklahoma State at West Virginia. Obviously, West Virginia upsetting Iowa State last week. Pretty crazy result, if I'm being frank. The Mountaineers are now at 500. They're hosting Oklahoma State there in Morgantown. I'm really interested to see if West Virginia can carry over what they did against Iowa State against the Pokes, but I really think the Pokes defense is up for the challenge, and I think they get out of there with a victory, but I'm still interested in that game. And then my sickos game of the week, we're going to the G5. North Texas, 2-6, at Southern Miss, 1-7.
Yes.
Teams are bailing on on Conference USA. North Texas going to the American Athletic Conference. Southern Miss headed to the Sun Belt. This is a pillow fight, and I cannot wait for it.
All right, we'll go to Steven.
Yeah, for my game of the week, give me A&M and Auburn, like that one. That'll be a good one in the SEC. And then my sickos game of the week, Florida and South Carolina. Dan Mullen having an interesting week with press conferences. South Carolina really struggling in their year one under Shane Beamer. So that's my sickos game.
All right, Steven.
That was Steven.
So Steven, sorry, John.
Yeah, it's done. So for the one I'm most interested in, I was going to say West Virginia and Oklahoma State, but Jake already talked about that one. But I like Cincy and Tulsa. I think that's going to be a lot of fun as well. Can Cincy put one on the college football playoff committee and Tulsa at the same time? And then the outside shot, the Sicko. I don't know. I'm not going to call it a Sickos game because that'd be disrespectful to these guys. But the Army Air Force game, I think that'd be a lot of fun to watch. It's always great to see the military schools, but lock it up.
That one's in Arlington, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, which is pretty cool. I like that for them. All right, Linda, you're up.
I also am looking forward to Auburn and A&M. That'll be a game that I watch pretty closely on Saturday. And then I didn't pick a Sicko game this week, but I do want to tell you that I implemented it into a NFL game this weekend. So I've just adopted the phrase Sicko game. That's like my new favorite.
You said you have an NFL Sicko game?
Yeah, Houston and Miami is going to be discussed.
Oh my God, that is absolutely the Deshaun Watson trade that didn't happen bowl. That is what that game is.
Yeah.
All right, so I am really looking forward this week actually to UTSA and UTEP. Those two teams are going to tussle at 10:15 Eastern Standard Time. There was talk of this game potentially being a marquee game. You know, maybe there's some game to there. Did not happen. Another one I have my eye on, Washington. Do us a favor this week and take out Oregon. Do us all a favor and let this end before it goes too far. Look, Oregon's going to crash and crumble like they always do. Anthony Brown, I saw plenty of him at Boston College. No interest. I know it's going to happen there. But I think that game's really intriguing. And then a Sickos game. How about this one? Late at night, 10:30 ESPN. 4-4 USC going up against Arizona State, who just got waxed at home by Washington State with an interim coach. I believe they turned it over on their first 3 possessions of the game in that one. Absolutely horrible stuff there. So that's very exciting. All right, everybody, time for us to all go around and plug our shows. Jake, you're first.
Follow me at Jacob C. Hatch on Twitter for all of the work I do outside of the Locked On Podcast Network, but you can follow Locked On Cougars wherever you get your podcasts. It's on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, Locked On Cougars. Talking BYU, and obviously very excited to talk about the Big 12 now that BYU is going to be on their way into the conference.
Fantastic. Linda?
You can find me and all my work at Lindellians on Twitter. And then the show is at locked_on_pokes on Twitter and Locked On Pokes on Facebook and all listening apps.
Love listening apps. John?
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at John9Williams on Twitter for the show Locked On Sooners and Facebook Locked On Sooners, and we're on Instagram, but I don't know how to do Insta, so I'm still working on that. But hey, Locked On Sooners is now on YouTube, so go hit that subscribe button.
Yes, do it.
My brother-in-law told me, he said you can't tell people to smash the subscribe button, but I was approved to say hit or press. So please do that to the subscribe button. Yeah, and then you can also read my work on the Sooners over at the Sooners Wire at usatoday.com.
Mr. Simcox.
I am at Simcox Steven. The show is at Locked On TCU, and we got a coaching search going on, man. So tap in. Interesting things going on in Fort
We didn't even talk about that.
I know. Well, Steven and I, full disclosure, did do a full episode on this.
Right.
And so TCU Corner has been like a ongoing thing. Let's revisit it. We'll have a longer TCU Corner coming up next week. I can promise everybody at home that. You can find Locked On Big 12 where you guys get your podcasts. Also find us on YouTube as well. We're over 300 subscribers, so appreciate everybody who's subscribed. Keep hitting that subscribe button. Smash it, poke it, whatever you guys want to do. Please continue to do that. You can find me on Twitter at LOBig12. You can find me personally at JoshNeighbors_. Folks, until next Tuesday night, and we get really angry again. It was a pleasure.